Warning, this content may be disturbing to some audiences. Subscribe. If you dare. He showed us a video of him lighting a cat on fire while it was alive. Hey everybody, welcome to ANECDOSED. People ask Reddit. Friends of sociopaths/psychopaths. What was your most uncomfortable moment with them? Number 1. Commenter. I remember from a very early age that my mom would just stand in the entrance to my room with a knife. This didn't happen very often, maybe 2 to 3 times a year. When I was 9, I finally asked her why she would do this. I'll never forget how she said this. She looked me dead in the eyes and said that I was a mistake and she was deciding if she should do what she should have done a long time ago. I asked to move in with my grandma a week later. Thinking about how she said it still gets my heart racing 22 years later. I don't know if I can accurately describe it, but every single hair on my body stood straight up. I was paralyzed with fear and I felt like if I moved too suddenly she would strike. Backstory: Mom had me when she was 16 and regularly told me that I ruined her life. She was a habitual drug user and alcoholic. She told me that if she had the money she would have had an abortion. Person B: that sucks, dude. Just gonna say, 2 to 3 times a year is actually very often for something like that to be occurring. Number 2. Commenter. In high school, my boyfriend at the time and I shared a math class together. It was well known we were dating, so I would always take him his homework upon teacher's request if he missed class, which by the way, he skipped a lot. I broke up with him over Christmas break because he cheated on me. Math teacher obviously still assumed we were together, so he asked me to bring him his homework. I did. Got to his house, wanting to drop it off at his doorstep. He told me to come in and explain it to him. He locked his bedroom door and started saying shit like, if I can't have you then no one else can, I could get you back in a second. Just admit it, etc. Then the true kicker: if I killed you or if you died, I would keep your body in my closet or hung behind my door just to have sex with it. I never had sex with him and I think that killed him. He then proceeded to try to make out with me and jam his hands down my pants. He actually thought it was endearing and had no idea why I was so upset. I got out, called my mom to pick me up, and ran back to the school. He lived close. Terrifying. To this day I'm still horrified about it. Last I heard he was trying to be a magician, looks like Charles Manson, and is in and out of psych wards. Person B. There is an episode of Homicide Hunter almost exactly like this, except the boy kills the girl and hides her in the family's basement. And the family knew but didn't tell anyone. Glad you were able to get out of your situation. Number 3. Commenter. We were the police. We were cleaning our guns. This guy pointed the gun at me and asked me if I trusted him. Do you think the gun is unloaded? He asked me. I could be negligent or evil and I could leave a bullet in there. He pulls the trigger, laughs, and carries on cleaning the gun like nothing. He thought it was funny. He knew it was against all regulations. That's why it was so funny according to him. This guy no longer has his permit to carry a gun. This was 20 years ago. His gun privilege was revoked from him after an incident when he shot at a wall over a colleague's head. He shot wide over his head and was surprised by everyone's response to the incident. I wasn't trying to kill him or anything, that's why I shoot over his head. He said. Person B. A friend of mine was killed this exact same way by his roommate. Person C. My husband's cousin was accidentally shot and killed like this. The shooter was his maternal uncle, but her family swears up and down the gun went off by itself. The paternal side, my SOS family, points out that if it was an accident, why did the uncle leave the country? Also, he was slightly drunk, they'd just come back from deer hunting. Person D. Pointing a gun to your friend is one of the biggest crimes you can make in the Turkish army. I don't know if you don't have a rule like that, but it should be punished. Person E. I had a friend when I was a kid find a gun in the garage, he pointed it at me and pulled the trigger. There wasn't a bullet in it. He laughed. I remember feeling super lightheaded and sick to my stomach. I went and told my mom, who then beat the kid and told his mother, who then beat him also. Never played with him again. Number 4. Someone in our extended family. He offered to kill my cat for me to save a vet bill. The cat wasn't sick. Or old. He was just very enthusiastic about helping us out with that particular issue. He's not allowed to be alone with pets anymore. This wasn't the first incident, actually. At a family gathering he took the family dog for a walk. He returned with the dog soaking wet. It was December, and he claimed the dog had chased a squirrel into the river. People didn't entirely believe that story, somehow. He also tends to just leave gatherings without telling anyone, sleeps in the garden instead of on the couch, and he rarely blinks. He is just altogether a little odd. Number 5. Commenter. He had a gas-powered pellet gun, and we were 13 years old, and it was one of my first times being high. He had me against the wall and gave me 5 minutes to choose between him shooting me in the genitals or in the head. If I didn't choose, he said he was just gonna go nuts. I just kinda fidgeted in place saying you're gonna kill me. I was 13 and high, and at the end of the 5 minutes he told me he was effing with me. He also emptied a huge box of matches into the sink one time, and when we all told him not to, he called us pussies and lit it all on fire. He was a major pyro. I'm pretty sure he's in jail now. I'm 19 and he's 20. Person B. We'd hang out a lit in middle school and every day I'd be worried I'd say something wrong and be punished with some unique torture. Like the pellet gun thing and stuff related to my anxiety, like making me sing in front of his friends. I'm not a singer by any means, he just made me. We'd always play weird performance-related games like have dance-offs or sing-offs, and whoever didn't want to participate, usually me, would always be punished in some way. Number 6. Commenter. I've been friends with a sociopath. He is honestly like my brother. We have developed this relationship that basically treats me like his moral compass, but it doesn't always work. He is still manipulative and cruel at times, and he does only truly care about himself, but he tries to be a good person because he doesn't want to be an asshole. This being said, my most uncomfortable moment with him would have to be when he was telling me about watching some guy almost die. He was telling me how he knew he should have stopped watching and helped him, but he was too interested in what the outcome would be if he didn't help. It was creepy to know that as hard as he may try to be a decent person, sometimes he still can't help himself. Person B. Similar case with my ex. She had a lot of moments where she felt bad about the way she was and wished she was normal. She'd often do things that were right because she felt they made her better, but never actually sacrificed much to be good. Number 7. Had a boyfriend, now ex for sure, straight kidnapped me once when I was 18. I left in the middle of a fight to walk to work and he jumped in his car, pulled up next to me, grabbed me by the throat and threw me in the car. He drove like a maniac, swerving into traffic and super close to parked cars, telling me he was going to kill us both. He made me call my work and tell them I wasn't coming in. I was sobbing hysterically and I just played it off like I just found out a close friend had died. I don't remember how I talked myself out of that situation, but looking back I can't believe how weak I was and just did what he said, even knowing he was probably going to kill me. He got arrested for manhandling me and biting me on the cheek outside of my job. Super embarrassing. I'm so glad I snapped out of that shit. I would put a knife in someone before I ever let them treat me that way again. The weakness came from me staying with him afterwards. He would cry in my lap and beg me to help him be a better man, and there were always promises of never doing it again, which of course were lies. When he did get arrested and the police were taking pictures of my beat up face and everyone was staring at me in the parking lot, I should have loved myself enough to get out. When the officer taking pictures and collecting evidence, a man my grandfather's age, looked me in the eyes and told me I didn't deserve it and needed to get out, I should have never looked back. I'm ashamed to say I put up with a lot more bullshit before I finally walked away. I hate to say it, but I think it is a weakness. I also think people can find a strength in themselves they never imagined possible if they find a reason to see it in themselves. It doesn't define you in the long run unless you let it. Number 8. Commenter. Married 1. Last straw was the day I caught his reflection as I passed by. Pure evil and hatred in his eyes. I told him I was leaving the following week. He said, "If I ever see you somewhere with someone else, I won't say a word to you." I said okay. He then added, "I'll just walk up to you and shoot you in your pretty face." I was moving some things out and looked under the bed for a pair of shoes. Found his guns, fully loaded and out of their cases under his side of the bed. I went to the cops. Nothing came of it. Fast forward and he remarries before the ink is dry on the divorce. New wife shoots him in the head and kills him in his sleep. Proceeds to kill herself by ODing on his pain pills. Yeah. I sleep better these days. Person B. Geez, I wonder what he was putting her through now. That's messed up. Glad you got out ASAP. Number 9. Commenter. This kid in my 8th grade class. He showed us a video of him lighting a cat on fire while it was alive. He thought it was funny. We reported the video to the school and he was apprehended the next day. I believe you can find a news story online about it. It happened in Maryland a few years ago. Number 10. Commenter. My sister is a sociopath. It took me a lot of years to realize this and stop rationalizing it. I'm a diabetic and have been in comas. During the last one in 2015, after a year of no contact, she showed up at the hospital saying I had expressed to her that my wishes were do not resuscitate. About 12 of my friends shouted her down and I woke up 3 days later on my own. If I had coded during that time, however, there would have been a lot of gray area around if they were allowed to revive me. About 4 months later she took out a life insurance policy on me and asked me to sign it. I said no lol. I no longer speak to her. Oh man, this blew up. I should add that I now have very clear wishes notarized and copies kept with my doctors and trusted friends. She's not taking me out that easily. Thank you guys for being concerned. It's great advice for everyone in a medical situation to have just in case. Person B, that is insane. You better write some kind of will/document that says she is never the beneficiary of anything in your name. I'm worried she's going to forge something. So chilling. I hope all is well with you. Number 11. I dated one once, didn't realize it until much later when the abuse was so thick I couldn't breathe. The one situation that sticks out the most was one night, completely unsolicited, he looked at me solemnly and said if you ever left me I would find you and kill you. 11 years of shit like that. Suffice to say I'm glad I've got an entire country between myself and him now. Number 12. I dated one for 8 months. He told me when I cried, he didn't feel anything. He even laughed one time when I cried. The abuse started to get physical, so I broke up with him over text. I made sure all the doors and windows were locked, and the blinds and curtains were closed. I turned off all the lights in the house so he couldn't see me if he decided to come over. I had to go outside to have a cigarette, and I literally brought a knife with me. I called a friend. I was that afraid of him. Number 13. I dated someone who I now believe is a sociopath. The most uncomfortable thing while we were dating was that he would constantly whisper things in my ear in public, in earshot of other people like, "Do you think I look hot right now? Or do you think I'm cool?" And the first few times I thought he was joking, so I laughed, and he'd get angry. He wanted a serious answer. He wanted me to tell him how much I wanted to jump his bones right there in front of all of our friends, while they were watching and listening. I'd get lectured afterwards like, "You know, you really insulted me personally when you laughed at me in front of everyone." He could also cry on cue to get what he wanted, and as soon as he got what he wanted, it would instantly switch off and he'd turn very serious and tell me what a horrible person I was. The instant emotional switches are disarming. When he broke up with me, I went from being his favorite person in the world to instantly at the very bottom of his shit list. He laughed when I cried on multiple occasions, calling me ridiculous. What's very alarming about people like him is how many people they can get on their side with their charm. None of his current friends know anything about his behavior behind closed doors. And they're all new people. All the people who caught on when we were dating are gone from his life. He has convinced his new friends that I'm a psychopath because I tried to tell others what happened, so whenever I say anything about what a creep he is, I get brigaded by the new people who are now being manipulated. Also, he is completely dead in the face and eyes until you interact with him, and then it's like he becomes animated. Make sure to share your personal story in the comments below and have the opportunity to be featured in a future video. Also, if you like these topics, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification button to continue seeing more content like this every day. See you next time.